This is an open letter for Mr. Matthew Miller. Bravo, sir. Matthew Allen Miller. You were a spokesman for Uncle Sam's managers for a while during the last administration. You were the spokesman for the government. I don't know which, but you were a common presence when there were questions. The public were asking questions of the governments of the purpose of all these activities and why it's happening, and it's really bad. As a spokesman for the government, I often seen you, as everybody else, I've seen you that you defend the position that there are no crimes, there are no war crimes, everything. It's nothing much. It's a police action. It's a police action. This time in West Asia, that our guy on the ground, the Israelis, are doing a police action to go after the bad guys, and meanwhile, it's like 10 times the number of bad guys died in the process. So, but your position as a spokesman for the system was that, no, we don't see that much catastrophe happening. It's okay. It's war. They started it, and we are wiping them out. Well, you wouldn't say that. But the reason I'm making this letter is that recently I just saw that you're out of the system. Now apparently you have control of your faculties. I'm not sure if this is the correct word, this faculties. Are you now in possession of your faculties? Then you weren't in a position of your faculty. Who took over your faculties when you were speaking for the government? Who was in control of you? Was there, another soul entered your body? And in that soul lied for you? And, they said there's no war crimes, and you came out and you stood in front of the camera and said there's no war crimes. But then you're out of the system. They're like, yeah, it seems to be war crimes. I mean, was it how do you look at it? It's sort of like, as long as you pay me, I will say what you want me to say. As long as you give me a position and you pay me for it, I say what you want me to say. But then if you don't pay me, if you stop paying me, then I get my conscience back, and that soul goes out, the hungry, greedy soul goes out, and a sympathetic human soul returns, and now, yeah, I believe it's war crime happening. Oh, it didn't start yesterday. It's almost, I guess, 2 years now. I mean, for a year of it, you were in charge, and in charge of, justifying. I'm sorry. So all it takes is a paycheck. So anybody, I will say anything for anybody as long as you give me a paycheck. You stop giving me that paycheck, then I speak my own mind. Salute. That's it. That's literally, description of employment. It's sort of like, employ me or I speak. Employ me or I speak my mind, then which questions my previous position. And come on, I mean, sir, if and this is not just you. This is, I'm sorry that I'm just picking on you. You're the last video I saw that you basically changed your position 180 degrees from the time you were employed by the government to the time that now you are not employed by the succeeding government. Therefore, now you get to speak your mind. And when these guys were in opposition, they spoke their mind and they said, yes, Gaza is wrong and Ukraine is wrong. But now they are in power, and suddenly Gaza must continue. Trump Tower. There was no talk of Trump Tower before the election. There was, no, this shit show would not have started if I was in charge. Neither in Ukraine nor in Israel. But, because I wasn't in charge, this shit happened. No, it's sort of like the policy is the same, because the same rich boys want to, who make money from that war, make money from this war, and both of them are in charge of your election system. The people who are profiting from this war and that war are all part of an integrated part of the election system. Israel actually puts their flag in House of Representatives and the Senate, in the legislative chambers of United States. There are flags of Israel. In the legislative rooms of United States are a flag of, it's sort of like, imagine a colony moving to moon, and everybody being okay with that colony from moon having their own special flag in the halls of U.S. legislature. That would be the same thing. A colony of humans, certain kind of humans, in this case Ashkenazi, in that case moon people. Imagine their colony having special rights of putting their flag next to a lot of positions in the legislature of one of the countries on earth. So we have a special position there because we are from moon and they have to support us. I'm sorry, after a while, if you can't support yourself, then I don't want dependence. Who the fuck wants dependence? 80 years of feeding the machine, the killing machine in Middle East, that has been fed for 80 years by white people from Western Hemisphere. And you don't think 80 years is enough experimental period, and saying that, okay, if this experiment doesn't work out after 80 years, maybe it's not supposed to work out, let's call it quits if it doesn't work out after 80 years. This is a measure of experiment. The longest experiments, apparently, I was reading the other day, is the experiment that they have done with a special kind of tar, or special kind of something with very high viscosity, so high that the experiment took 80 years for one drop of this liquid coming down the pipe and dropping. It's an 80-year experiment until it happened. Well, Israel, even if it's as viscous as that, I think 80 years. But you're not planning on changing that. And the people from this place, Israel, in that case Moon, have special privileges. And one of the privileges is that they can fund whatever candidates they want for this judiciary that they're putting together, so this judiciary would support them. They got people on the colonists on the moon or colonists in Israel. They have special rights to put a legislature together that fits their purpose in Israel. So they find whatever they have to find, whoever is willing to bend over for money. They try them, they pay them, they bend them over, all good. You can be my representative. How? There are a few representatives I'm not going to, name names, but there are a few representatives that the story in the news media is that these representatives used to be dancers in gentlemen clubs. And when you look at them, they look great. I mean, face, body, everything looks great. So you can accept that nice smile. You can accept that this woman, her previous job, let's see. And once some people have investigated, they found out, that for a couple of years, you worked in gentlemen's club until somebody with money came along, first physically bent her over, then that person decided that, how about I make a representative out of this woman? And understanding is that I both get the physical and the legislature bending over. And you can tell that somebody like DeSantis, I think he was, that eventually was kicked out. That's the same thing. The male of that sort. But the recent ones are females of that sort. Apparently, could not be true. Please do your own research. But this is what I read in a few places. That the situation has become so clearly obvious. That is not a way a sane society would go. You put your strippers in the legislature, or the system have worked in such a way that strippers and male escorts and humping buddies are being considered as intellectual enough to really represent. I mean, if here's the thing, and once you look at it like that, Mr. Matthew Miller, this whole popularity contest that happens once you look at the strippers, female and male strippers that are more and more becoming members of the legislature. And you find out that these are the cheerleaders, these gorgeous women who have been, obviously good looking enough that they were able to sell this look. So when you find out some of these in your legislature, then that's a warning bell. Some system has warped, something has gone horribly wrong, that there were no better candidates for a thinking position. Legislature is a thinking position. It's not a dancing position, it's a thinking position. But when the dancers, the cheerleaders, the strippers find their way into the legislature, then you're gonna have some stupid they're gonna come up with some really stupid laws. And the problem with democracy is that this popularity contest. Who wins in a popularity contest? Either the jock or the cheerleader. Or if there's supposed to be one of each, they become homecoming king and homecoming queen. Does anybody know of any homecoming king and homecoming queen who had the brains? Does anybody know? No, usually the brainiac is not the homecoming king, and nor a homecoming queen. But the whole popularity contest, which is the basis of democracy that you're so proud of, is a popularity contest, which means that there is always either a jock wins or a cheerleader. And the only reason you haven't had a female president is clearly that. It's because you can't you can't be a cheerleader and be entrusted with nuclear button. And all women in politics are considered as cheerleaders. They're all good looking, even in their old age. That's prerequisite. So let's go construct our face so like Cher's face stays this in a very nice condition for decades. And obviously, and your recent election shows that obviously every time the more qualified candidate, the one with the bigger brain, lost to the jock. So your legislature and the executive power is run by the most successful, brilliant, good-looking jocks. And as soon as we can trust a cheerleader with a nuclear with a nuclear button, we love to choose a cheerleader and say, yes, we got a woman there as well. And Mrs. Harris qualified as a cheerleader, a 60 or 50-year-old cheerleader. That's what you end up with. She was part of a sorority. A sorority, how many fraternities or sororities of brainiacs do you know of? Brainiacs are usually loners, or in a very, very small group, very quiet, not a fraternity or a sorority. So being part of a sorority is kind of like being in the in crowd of at least your own group. So you basically kind of cheering each other on. That's the whole purpose of fraternities and sororities, is that helping each other and cheering each other on, and being a helping hand where possible. Who does that? Cheerleaders. That's the whole concept of us against them. Us against them. Who's them? The whole it is. You're small tribes trying to get at their way in very large tribes. Smaller tribes within the larger tribe. And the smaller tribes, this is the result. Who have the money, the small tribe of billionaires and small tribe of multimillionaires and the small tribes of... These tribes have got the faucet to all the money. They have accumulated all the digital currency that is available to accumulate in their own name. Your problem is internal. Your problem is the asset inequality and income inequality that's prevalent in the system. Your system. The richest country in the world goes with a hat in hand in the Middle East, asks for gifts. The richest country in the world. The leader of one. And the same thing was with Biden. He got his gifts in Ukraine, in the form of high positions with good salaries, as Mr. Hunter Biden and Burisma. So it was enough to go around, and everybody is apparently is okay with. How is it that you're the wealthiest country in the world, then on the planet, wealth in terms of asset value? Wealth in terms of asset value. You have the highest asset value of basically your industry and your land and this and... But then you have so many poor, and then the rich also go and collect more money around the world. Sort of like, come on over, you have to spend money with our defense. Come on over, give us money, we need to arm you. Why? Are you planning on something? Mr. Hexet goes to, and that, again, this doesn't change from administration to administration. Before going in, they make some sane promises, but then after going in, they're like, yeah, we are working on it. I'm sorry, you said stop day one. No, we are working on it. Don't worry about it. Oh, don't worry about it. Oh, okay. The same last administration also said the same thing, Matthew Miller and Stephen Miller. Are you guys cousins by any chance? You could be. Last name Miller, I believe. Stephen Miller, and you are Matthew Miller. Stephen Miller, who's in charge now. And why is it that when you're outside of the power, you stay perfectly sane position, and why is it once you take a position in the government, you most of the time it's 180 degrees from the stated position before the election? So it seems like you folks like to say we are free this, freedom that, democracy this, democracy that. There is the situation with your representatives recently. At least I know of two that apparently there were two women, that nice, young, good looking, but perfectly unfit for their position because they're cheerleaders with that kind of mentality. Apparently they were both dancers. Which woman do you know becomes a dancer? The woman who's not really comfortable using her brain. She's more comfortable using her body to make money. Okay, that's fine. But then why are you taking up a position? Why? The money, some really rich guys have decided that, they like that woman in bed. She qualifies to also be in politics, and it's paid. It's clear, and Mr. DeSantis was the gay version of that. Somebody supported the gentleman. Who was the money behind DeSantis? Find those people, and you see that it's the same situation. A few people with a lot of wealth knew him, and decided that, he's my bitch in bed, he can be my bitch on the bench. Or she is my bitch in bed, she can be my honcho on the bench, my hoe on the bench. Why? So this is the problem. Then you go look farther, you see that I never really liked 60 Minutes, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. That's why I didn't like 60 Minutes, especially 60 Minutes, and other shows similar to 60 Minutes. The whole thing is produced. It's a theatrical number, and and how Mr. Trump caught them. No, somebody caught it and showed President Trump, with regards to the editing of the 60 Minutes was altered. The timelines were altered, so the answer that Mrs. Harris had given for a different question was replaced with the answer that she gave to a different question. So so the whole thing is so choreographed that even if something slips, they give themselves the right to cut and paste whatever they want, because it's choreographed. The whole thing is choreographed. It's a show. But they pretend that they have some kind of authority they are of some kind of authority, who should be respected, and sort of like, folks, you're putting out a scripted show, And why I say scripted, I recently seen, and apparently it's the same recipe for other countries that also are using the brand 60 minute. Recently I saw a UFO, some UFO pieces were of 60-minute program in different dates, I guess, or the same date, I'm not sure. But there were different segments that were associated with UFO, all lined up from 60 minutes. And when you go through it, you can just tell the whole thing is staged. It's choreographed. I have a feeling, the reporter didn't ask any questions that wasn't agreed upon before with the interviewee. I think all the questions were rehearsed, answers were rehearsed, and 60 Minutes comes and produces this and says, okay, probably those questions have always been forwarded first to whoever is supposed to sit down and give an interview. They demand to have the questions first, and whatever questions they don't agree probably cannot be asked. For sure cannot be asked. This is 60 Minutes, and I saw the Australian version of 60 Minutes. Oh, that was so fake and produced and Hollywoody and choreographed that you thought you're watching one of these crime or investigation of such that you see later on at night on your, I guess, TV or internet, that are investigative crime solvers and detectives. 60 Minutes is like on par with these dramatic acting of investigation. This piece in Australia 60 Minutes, it was about China, and the whole time this 60-minute lady was literally, there is a line of questioning that we all know that can lead to the desirable answer. So once you get people saying yes, but then you put them one of the possible conclusions of that yes, you repeat it to them, that possible conclusion, and give only one, and you can lead people down a path if you already know what you're going to say. That means if you're scripted. So this lady was going around in some fucking island in the middle of South Pacific, and which China has good relations with, has businesses there, there are Chinese people living there, everything is fine. But this reporter goes over there and says, why do you have so many Chinese here? Aren't you worried having so many Chinese here? Aren't you worried that China is investing money in this island? Aren't you? Bitch, you're not investing. If somebody else is investing, you come and you have a problem with it. You didn't invest. As white people, this lady was a white woman from Australia. As white people, not only you don't come and invest, but you keep going and bombing them motherfuckers. If somebody else comes around and invests in their countries, you pop out and say, why are these people investing? Why they shouldn't be investing here? I'm sorry, Mr. Matthew Miller, it's the complexion. And it's not against all white people. 90% of white people, white people that I have to deal with on a daily basis, they're fine people. It's like 10% of white people at the top are worried that they go to islands in South Pacific which are not, at least not yet, not white owned. They go to them and say, why is China here? Why is China investing in your shitty little island? We know you have a shitty little island. You should be happy having shitty little island. You shouldn't accept Chinese money or Chinese investment or Chinese know-how, because China is going to get influence here. Aren't you worried about that? And she leads them down a questioning path that eventually the guy has to agree that yes, we are worried about that. I guess because I followed your logic, and it was half logic, half you have to say yes, 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 yes. At the end, you are at the position that yes, we should start worrying about China. I mean, you folks don't see this. We see this. The Five Eyes, the British are dying to go to war because they got too many people in that little island. The British will pull United States into a war in Europe, between Europe and Russia. The British will do that. They started through Clinton. They did it. They pushed for this happening, just like the British pushed for, they created Israel. Come on, folks. And then again, when you give, Mr. Matthew Miller, when you give, I don't know how intellectual you are, but when dancers and hoes, little hoes, find their way into a legislature because a group of wealthy individuals decide that this person not only has a good body but has a good memory. They can memorize some scripts and they can become a viable candidate. Why not? Nice, good-looking black woman. She's got a good memory. We give her some topics, and she memorizes some speeches, some words, some sentences, and she gets a $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year income from the job, and she will still be sucking my dick every other night. This is what your elections of the jocks and the cheerleaders, the popularity contest, again, back to, in a popularity contest, usually the jocks and the cheerleaders win. The problem with that is neither the jocks nor the cheerleaders are known for being intellectual. They're known for looking good. They're not known for playing chess well. So, and nobody picks the leader from the chess club. So that means your system is broken. This system that it was invented in, I guess, Greece, Rome, is insufficient. It's a popularity contest in which eventually every time it starts fine. Those who started after a big revolution and a big couple of million people dying, they started democracy. Yes, we all want to have a right to say something. Okay. But your chief executive cannot be a popularity contest. Your legislature shouldn't be a popularity contest, but your executive position certainly cannot be a popularity contest. Because in this way you will never get a woman president, because you have to look between the cheerleaders and sorority girls for a president, and nobody trusts a sorority girl or a cheerleader with a nuclear button. At least the sane men don't, and they have a right not to trust. But also the jock having the nuclear button is not sane either. The nuclear button should be given to the chess, the boys from the chess club. One of the boys from the chess club, or boys from the chess, a grown-up version of the boys from the chess club, should be allowed anywhere near somebody who can see the bottom of the line. What will happen eventually? That's chess. You have to guess the number of possible future moves that can happen that may end up costing you the game. So basically you don't make certain moves because you can see the future of those moves, and the possibilities of that move that you're doing now could cost you the game 5 moves down. If you can see that, you make a great leader. How many jocks do you know who play chess well? How many cheerleaders do you know who play chess well? People who play chess well, they don't start wars. They can't start wars because they can see that if this action, example, expansion of NATO, if I take this action, expansion of NATO, this will lead to some bad places. But apparently, a bunch of these chief executives were all jocks and no brain, and they couldn't see down the path, or they didn't care about down the path. Jocks also don't really give a fuck about other people. That's another quality that jocks have. They usually don't give a fuck about other people because they have always been the jock, the big kahuna. You know, Mr. Biden was a jock for himself in his day. Clinton, Obama, these are all jocks. A little less, a little more jockey, George W. Senior, George Senior. They're all jocks. Reagan. They are Kennedys. They're all jocks. If you have a little more brain, Kennedy and Obama being two of them, a little more brain, a little less jock, but they still, there was a possibility in their younger days for them to be a homecoming king. You see what I'm saying? So Reagan, good looking, not very brainiac, not a chess player, and this idea that, you know, Reagan brought down communism. No, Reagan was a president amongst a group of presidents that during their period, the crazy ideas that CIA had was implemented, and didn't matter which president, the same ideas were implemented until you destroyed a very good, at least in their later years, they were functioning. As long as they weren't sanctioned, they were functioning. But you decided to sanction them to make their system not function. Embargo, sanction, Cold War. You're always in a war with somebody. Have you noticed, Mr. Matthew Miller? White people are always in war with somebody. Mr. Trump recently said they're ripping us off. The richest country on earth, which produces the reserve currency of earth, at least up to now, is saying, which has the exorbitant, whatever the fuck the word is, of being the reserve currency, that power. You pick a jock, and the jock says they're ripping us off. I'm sorry. The richest country on earth is saying the poorer ones are ripping us off. Salute. Do you see the problem, sir? This is what happens, and I'm dying to see one day the same type of person that is the president in the movie Dr. Strangelove. I'm still waiting to see the kind of president that he was in Dr. Strangelove. You can tell, you know, the guy with his hair missing, half his hair is missing, he doesn't mind, he's still keeping it real and keeping it bald with some hair around his ears, and he's always listening and trying to come up with the best answer, listening to everybody and trying to calm everybody down. I'm still waiting to see that kind of president in real life. You know, Bush was the one who would come and say, no, I am the wartime president. Everybody should worry. We should go to war. Everybody get up. We should go to war. I'm a wartime president. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. Who's that? A jock. Who behaves in that way? Who doesn't say, no, we should really do an investigation, find out really what went wrong. We should do a police investigation, a criminal investigation, what went wrong, who knew what they knew, and how can this action or similar actions be prevented in the future, period. Suddenly the jock stood up and said, we have to go wanted, dead or alive. Okay, fine, but send a couple of SEAL teams in, and if you have to, get it over with. But you invade the whole fucking country because you're a jock. You hired a jock. Why? Because it's a popularity contest. Nobody from the chess club wins a popularity contest. But this is a thinking position. Popularity, I don't want the jock to imagine living in a space station. Do you really want to have a jock as captain, as a pilot or captain? You don't want the jock. You see what I mean? Your government on Earth, your governments, what you consider government, is a system that has to function in a way for everybody to survive. That's that's a spaceship. Everybody in the spaceship has to survive. Everybody in the city, in the county, in the state, in the country has to survive. Now the system has to be designed in such a way that everybody survives. Period. Now, who's that good at designing? Who understand good design? People with brain. People from chess club. Do you see where I'm going with this? So, none of the presidents that you have chosen over the past, the ones that I know of, that I've been part of the history that I've read in school, none of them are brainiacs. Nixon a little, but then he's got other issues. Again, Mr. Matthew Miller, I have this thing that I am recommending to everybody, that maybe you should consider, if you have to have a popular election, maybe you should consider having a popular election every 4 years or whatever. Have a popular election, but the people who qualify for your presidential election, to be in your presidential elections, are your Supreme Court justices. So, and in that way, there is a much better chance of you ever getting a woman president, qualified woman president. Basically say, no, we are not going to pick our president every 4 years. We are not going to hire the best male model. We are not going to hire somebody with the best smile and the best sales pitch. We're not going to go to the bazaar and hire a good salesman every 4 years. No, we are going to say that only the justices at the Supreme Court are qualified to be president. So, you want to have a popular vote? Fine. People popularly vote for all the nine justices are up for election, all 9 of them, and whether they're affiliated with any party or not, who knows, who cares? I'm sure they wouldn't tell. So it will become 9 justices whose party affiliation is unclear, or if it's unclear if they want it to be unclear, or they say it's unclear. But Probably they do have affiliation with one party or the other, one way of thinking or the other. But still, people can only choose from these justices because these guys have been through a quality test process in which they have, at each level of their life journey, Mr. McChrystal says, as in their life journey, they have been often tested, evaluated before promoted. So they have reached the Supreme Court. You know, these people, these people give you quality presidents, and only these people. There may be more people, but you don't want a salesman. And the best system in which you could come up with to sieve out the unqualified and immoral, and you have been able to sieve them out, and whatever fine particles you got at the bottom are, very hopefully are very refined. And from amongst you, then you let the public choose from amongst them who should be the president for the next 4 or 5 years. And they go in, and they can also have 2 terms, but the same sitting president competes with the other 9 justices for the election, and if he's allowed to stay, he stays another 4. Same system, it's just that you limit the pool of qualified people for the executive seat, which is a very important seat. You limit the qualified one to the 9 justices at the Supreme Court. This system makes sense. This makes that these people are respected, both because of their private life and public life. Hopefully, again, the security system has to make sure only these people, when they reach here, they're clean and qualified and no shady past. I'm sure that they do that already. But this system of bringing salesmen in, and every time these salesmen being bought and sold by different corporations and vouching on behalf of different corporations and going to war on behalf of different corporations, the same thing is happening in the European Union. Boris Johnson, he's a jock, behaves like a jock. Keir Starmer, a jock, tries to behave like a jock. Certainly doesn't. He's not a chess player. None of these fucking people are chess players. These systems that you think the majority is correct, or our system works because it's democracy. No, every time it's a popularity contest, and usually the jocks win. Jocks who make absolutely no sense win. And then you ask why we keep ending up in these wars? Because jocks are jocks. They want to tell everybody they got a big dick, and they're very materialistic, and they don't understand the concept of more money, more problem. So your political system is run by jocks. The jocks are in charge of your political system. Not only political system. Okay, you want to go for the cheerleaders and jocks? At least limit that to the House and the Senate. At least the guy in charge of the executive seat, at least he's got to be the opposite of a jock, a chess player. Mr. Trump doesn't have the patience for chess. I know, because I've seen the type. No patience for chess. I don't want to. Many people. My own father, he didn't like chess. Sort of, he didn't want to, think so many moves ahead. Apparently, and his life showed. So the point is, you don't want, if you're not a chess player and you're in charge of a family, you fuck up one family. If you're not a chess player and you're in charge of a company, you fuck up a company. If you're not a chess player and you're in charge of a country and you fuck up a country, you fuck up a whole lot of people. If you fuck up the world, you fuck a whole lot of people. Mr. Zelensky of Ukraine is not a chess player. He is a jock. He was a dancer. Yes, I know he's like 5 foot, but his chosen profession is acting. Acting is brother and sister with dancing. It's not a brain work. Acting is acting. You memorize a script and you put on a show. It's not thinking much. And have you seen him? As soon as he became president, he went out and worked out a lot and got some bulge here so he can show his pecs. But again, part of the act. He's acting. Dancer, actor, who cares? The same thing. It's not a brain work. I'm sorry, Mr. Matthew Miller, your system in this setting of let's choose the most popular, it has led to a couple of world wars, because those democracies, the popular one, for example, in one case went for Mussolini, in the other case went for the fucking guy Churchill. He was a jock. I mean, as soon as he got out of school, he decided that he wants to become a reporter and and go to South Africa and report. And then once he got to South Africa, he decided reporting is not as adrenaline, is not getting as much adrenaline as he likes as a reporter. So he joined the expeditionary military forces in South Africa to get more adrenaline rush. Who's after so much adrenaline rush? A brainiac? No. A fucking jock is looking for so much adrenaline rush. A brainiac is, fine, sitting back and relaxing. He's not looking for adrenaline rush. A brainiac is not looking to make explosive decisions which sends half the world down a vertigo. That's a joke. Biden was a joke. Obama was a joke. Clinton was a joke. And most of them are not good chess players. Obama maybe, somewhat. But still, he came into the system and a lot of things basically, like Putin says, gentlemen with black suits and black shades come in and say, this is the position you have to take, period. And they sort of explain it, but it's a joke. The joke who's in charge of the executive seat in, for example, Biden administration, I'm sure he didn't understand. Biden didn't understand most of the stuff that he was being told. Not that when he was old, even when he was young, most of the stuff that is being told is not really, doesn't click, because the guy who wins the election is the jock. People like jocks. The whole idea of women want to be with them and men like to be like them. That's the jock. So therefore, if woman wants to be with somebody and men want to be like them, they vote for them. They vote for that person that is their ideal person. Mr. Trump wins the election because that's the ideal person that they want. He talks well and he's successful. So that's how they want to be successful. What they don't understand is not everybody cannot be successful, or else success doesn't have a meaning. And that would be communism, correct? But the point is this: the gentleman, and this is not a derogatory matter that I'm trying to establish. It's not derogatory at all. Jocks get all the pussy and do very well in life. Everybody likes them, and they do well for themselves. The jocks and the cheerleaders. If they can find a few brain cells, they will do well in life as well. But do you want them as your leaders? They will barely be, the jocks and the cheerleaders can barely get through life without really fucking it up for themselves. They can barely do that because they're not real thinkers. George W., the guy with the last name and with the money and with the credit, managed to fuck up multiple times until he became president, and then fuck that. Who does that? The jock. Everybody likes him. He's a pleasant guy, but he doesn't have much to work with between his ears, and he fucks up almost everything he runs into. I'm sorry, he could have a perfectly good existence on his own terms, but he doesn't really need to be the chief of the tribe. Because then, the man in black suit, when they approach, if you have a chess player there, the chess player is going to look at them and say, okay, you have to provide me with enough information so I can make a right decision. So at least the president gets to know what's going on. You see? The chess player doesn't accept the bluff. The chess player says, I'm in charge, you're going to show me all the documents I need to see, and then I decide I'm going to expose it or not. That would be a move by a chess player. A jock? They come and intimidate the jock, and the jock sheathes his sword instantly. Because jocks are not jocks make unreasonable decisions, but they also can be bullied easily, because again, they can't see down a couple of moves, and they get, imagine a mafia, a group of mafia in which they're all jocks, but the ones at the lower ranks, are scared shitless of the ones on the higher ranks. They're all jocks. Whoever joins a mafia group becomes a mafiosi. It's clear indication that he's a jock. But at the same time that they're jocks, they are very scared of somebody. Isn't that the situation with most of the presidents? That they will toe the line when they have to toe the line, because there are some people that the jocks take seriously. But if you have a chess player there, the chess player would only take logic seriously. The chess player, there is less chance of the deep state, the really rich people who run the show, there is less chance of them being able to intimidate a chess player than there is chance of them being able to intimidate the jock. In other words, Kennedy was not intimidated So they shot him. So he was somewhat of a chess player. He was a thinker. Kennedy, although he was a jock too, somewhat like Obama. But the rest are just pure jocks. You know, good looking, good talking, good walking. Women want to be with them, but men want to be like them. You know, Reagan, the cowboy with his acting career, governor of California, governor. Salute. So my point is this, folks, Mr. Miller, you may want to consider talk to some people that this tweak needs to be made to your executive election, and that the tweak is people, the populace can only choose from a group of very qualified people who can be a president, and these you cannot find a more qualified group of people. You cannot find a more qualified group of people than the Supreme Court in the United States. Especially if the system continues to vet anybody who reaches there with regards to their background, and there shouldn't be any hanky-panky in the background or the foreground. And that's what brings me to another point for Miss Claudia Sheinbaum, President of Brazil, and her party has decided that it's not bad enough that the legislature and the executive are being has a popular vote for it, just like United States. They have, Mr. Sheinbaum, her party has decided that it's so popular election is so good that we want to choose our judges through popular election. In this popular election, this popularity contest of the jocks and the cheerleaders, it's so good that we also want to make our judiciary go with the popularity contest. Again, we don't even want thinkers in our judiciary. We want jocks. Apparently, Mr. Sheinbaum herself is a cheerleader. Salute. Folks, popular vote is not. If you have to continue with popular vote for the jocks and cheerleaders with your Senate and the House, please continue. If you have to. But at least for the chief executive power, you really need thinkers. And as a group, Supreme Court is the most qualified group of people that you have in one group. So just tweak it in that way and choose your presidents from the Supreme Court. Let people choose whichever Supreme Court justice they like, whose face they like better. But at least you know the quality is there. If they pick the better looking one or the worse looking one, but at least you know the quality is there. You know there's no quality between the jocks and the strippers. Quality thinking. There's quality other things. You know, there's quality ass, there's quality tits, but you know, there's no quality thinking between the jocks. and the strippers. Salute.